It's time to check your money with America's money maven, Vicki Brackens. Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. Vicki, we got a couple of special guests in the building today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Two very, very special guests today. And I've been looking forward to this conversation for a couple of years now. And I'm really, really excited to say that we have the Ingram team, okay, from the Castle, Chino and Evelyn Ingram, who everybody knows around town. But we want to spend some time today really digging into their adventure over the last 2 years, since July of 2020. Actually, last 4 years. I can't count. That's what we do, money payment. Can't count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last 4 years in their endeavor to create an amazing event space here on the South Side of Syracuse. Welcome very much, Chino and Evelyn. How are you doing today?
Thank you.
Very good.
We're
Yeah.
doing great.
But Vicki,
Glad to be here.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Before you ain't gonna say nothing about my little outfit today.
Oh, George, I don't know what to say about your outfit today.
Listen, you should have said the only reason why I got dressed up is because I knew that Evelyn and Chino was gonna be here.
Listen, you talking about putting some pressure on some people. I put
that's why I got dressed up, because I knew they were gonna be here today.
we were letting you loose, George. You figured, you know what, you do your thing. And
Today's your day.
Right, exactly.
Listen,
you got it. It's your show. We on your show.
We good, yeah.
And Chino, thank you for saying that, because I haven't done this on the air. I don't know if you know this, but George Kilpatrick celebrates his birthday the whole month.
Oh, trust me, the whole city
month.
knows that.
So again, to you, my friend, happy birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Okay, so we're going to the next week of birthday celebrations. But getting back to our business at hand here, I said earlier that since July of 2020, you have been involved with and deeply engaged in creating an amazing event space here on the South Side of Syracuse, the Castle. But I am sure there are lots of things that you could share with us, which is what we want to do today, concerning some of the processes you had to go through, challenges, milestones, all the things that you have learned, because I know this has been a deep learning experience for you. So I would like to start with, first of all, just to refresh everyone, why did you decide to take this journey?
I don't know. We ask ourselves sometimes that as we've been going along this journey, but we actually refer to the project as a labor of love, because the impact that we know it will have not only on the trajectory of that neighborhood, the South Side, but the whole region. We want to make sure that we are doing what we can to make it happen. But there are definitely some days where the labor is more labor than more love, I guess. But we're excited to be actually doing this. For us, and actually, it's funny that you said July 2020, because that, if people recall, that was almost on the onset of COVID. We were actually in the midst of a pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
And despite, all the challenges that brought on, and obviously all the lives that were lost and all the fear that was, in our lives during that time, it actually benefited us from the perspective of people were accessible. And people were available, being able to meet with them. We were able to schedule meetings, probably more easy than we would have been had people been in their normal schedules. So we really used that to our benefit, and really was able to have a lot of meetings with people via Zoom, obviously virtual meetings, but just being able to acquaint them with what we were looking to do and our goals for trying to establish this project. So it really helped us from that perspective, because again, being able to get people focused on what we were doing and kind of having their undivided attention really worked to our benefit.
Back up a little bit and describe what the project is.
So the project is it is a property that is located on the South Side of Syracuse, New York, on the corner of South Salina and Colvin Street. It's a huge, what's formerly known as a South Presbyterian Church, which actually really is in the heart and soul of the South Side. And we have purchased, we're in the process of purchasing that building through the land bank, and we are going to renovate it into a multi-use event center. And the event center will consist of 3 components. One component being event space, space for people to have private events such as weddings, wedding receptions, We'll have concerts, we'll have plays, we'll have conferences and things of that nature. The second piece will be a lounge called an Ultra Lounge. 603 Ultra Lounge is actually the name of the lounge, and that will be an after work type event place where people can come. You can be in a casual yet sophisticated environment to interact and network with friends and business colleagues. And we'll also be offering live entertainment at that space as well. And the third component is actually a foundation. The Ingram Castle Foundation will be housed at the castle. And our goal for that is for it to be a regional training center. So we will offer a variety of trainings. Some of the trainings will be things that will allow people to be eligible for positions at the castle, such as culinary service, security, customer service training. Other trainings will be offered, such as health and wellness, wanting to make sure that we are providing information to those residents on things to really live a full, healthy life, as well as professional development. So those are the three components of the building. Again, we call it the castle. We named it the castle because if you see it, it looks like a castle. It has a very stately, royal appearance. So we felt like that was the appropriate name for that building.
Well, now you said a couple of things there that I want to make sure, because this is seen around the country, Chino and Evelyn. So there are some people who may not know of that location. This sounds like a really big building. How big is it?
Well, the castle is 30,000 square feet. So it's not just looking like a castle. It feels like a castle when you walk in. And if you think about an old church, there's so many rooms, there's so much space. So we look at that church and we go in it quite often, and we're always finding new rooms and new little areas that we can just look at and say, this is another opportunity for us to kind of maximize all the space in that building. So it's not just the visual look of the castle, it's the feeling of royalty that we want people to have when they come into the castle. So as soon as you get out your car and you start walking up to the castle, that's when that royalty starts. And we really want the castle to be almost like an escape, to almost like to feel like you don't even know where you are when you're inside the castle. You could be in LA or in Vegas or in Atlanta somewhere, because the castles we really wanted to almost have that magical feel to it. And we really want people to feel special no matter where you come from.
And one of the things,
go ahead, Evelyn.
I was just going to share that one of the things is that the building was built in the early 1900s. And one of the things that we found, kind of so early on in purchasing the property was there was actually, what is it called? A dumbwaiter, where it's like, something that you like the gas.
Right.
It goes, And we were like, gee, what was that? But that kind of shows you the age of the building and obviously its usage during the time when it was first built.
Yeah.
Well, what I was about to say is that when you announced the project, and then from your descriptions over time, I kept thinking about the Magic Kingdom down in Florida and Excalibur over in Vegas. Okay, that we were going to be bringing that type of experience here to Syracuse. And now to hear you say it's 30, I didn't realize it was 30,000 square feet. I was about 10,000 square feet short.
Oh, yeah.
As far as my expectation. That is really an amazing square footage and footprint there in the area. So going back to a comment that you made, that you purchased the building from the land bank. What is the land bank?
So the land bank actually it's a nonprofit organization, believe it or not, but their aim is to redevelop vacant properties in an urban city. So our land bank actually, owns a lot of different properties, both within the neighborhood of the castle, as well as throughout the city of Syracuse. So for them, this actually is a huge project for them to be able to basically take this vacant building off their books and to have it redeveloped into a vibrant, business. So again, what their goal is to obviously get as many vacant properties filled from whether it be residential or commercial properties. And so for us to make the purchase with them, it is contingent on us being able to show that we will make this vision come to reality. So that's kind of how they work it. It's like they want to make sure that what we say we're going to do, we do. And then once that occurs, we'll be able to officially be owners of that property.
Okay. Now the two of you have vibrant careers here in the local area. Hey, one in representing on a corporate basis what's going on with the Mr. shops. And also, I understand you now have a line that's being showcased there at Turning Stone. Is that right? Is that okay, Gino?
That
And
is correct.
okay, and then
We actually
Evelyn,
have two locations.
two
One,
locations.
yep, one downtown Syracuse and the other one out in Turning Stone.
Okay, out in Turning Stone, and then Evelyn K, as far as being the corporate executive and the face of Wegmans. We call you Miss Wegmans. And for those people who don't know about Wegmans, go online, look, and just be amazed at the type of establishment that Wegmans is. So why did you decide, with all the extra time that you have in your life,
We got a lot of
based on
extra
those
time.
two careers, that this was the project for you? What was it that really spurred you to make this decision?
It's actually a few things that spurred us. One was that when we were kind of trying to find a venue for a special event we were actually holding, which actually ended up being a birthday party for me and a surprise wedding. We were trying to find a venue in this area that would accommodate that, because we wanted each event, both my birthday party and our wedding, to each have its own feel. And during that search, we found it difficult to find a unique style venue in the Syracuse city area. So we actually were able to find a location that was about 45 minutes or so drive outside of Syracuse. And it's actually a renovated church that's owned by a husband and wife. And, we had a great time and were able to do that. Fast forward a few months, we're watching TV and see that the land bank did a report that this church that we just purchased is up for sale. Okay. So we looked at each other and was like, okay, we got to do this. This is what God has called us to do. And so that's one piece of it. But the other piece, which I probably would say is even larger, is that we really feel called that this is the project that we are destined to have here in Syracuse. And I say that because, Chino grew up literally, we keep saying 2 doors down from the castle, literally. And
the castle was actually, well, at that time it was a South Presbyterian church. That was kind of our playground. We didn't really have a backyard that was big or a front yard at all. So we would walk two houses down and use the parking lot as a playground. I mean, anything from kickball to hide-go-seek to chase, we ran around that church about 1,000 times, and we did it for many, many, many years. And it's just, really fitting for us to not only have our mission and our vision to kind of bring the castle to life, but also to send a message to a lot of young people who may have come from the same neighborhood, that when you get to a certain point in life, it's not just about being somewhat successful, but it's about giving back. So to turn my playground into our castle, to me is a good message and a good sign of, this is how we build our neighborhoods. This is how we grow, and we kind of show what we're supposed to be doing as a community. It's not just about getting to a certain point and keep going. It's getting to a certain point and then reaching back and pulling other people forward with you.
And what's interesting about that, Vicki, before you go, is that church was an active beacon in that community, right? They held forums, so it's kind of restoring that sort of opportunity for that community. And what I'm thinking about, Vicki, is I hear them talking, is what that will mean to have that up and running, and the vibrancy and the pressure. Do you feel pressure to really make this work?
I don't know if we feel pressure. I mean, it's more just the magnitude of it is so huge, and I don't think we recognized how vast it was until we got into it. But the pressure is more that we put on ourselves because we're anxious to be open and get it started. So I think it's more of, let's do what we can. So literally every day we're doing something to move this project forward. So whether, obviously we both, as you just shared, have, very fulfilling careers and very, demanding careers, but every day we are doing something to make this project happen. So it's a commitment, it's a sacrifice, and it's more of just recognizing that we know our end goal is the impact that it will have on our community. And that's very significant.
So you spoke earlier about the challenge that you had as far as timing was concerned. You were right in the middle of COVID when we had to go through that amazing, unfortunate process throughout the time that you have been involved with this. But what I am also curious about is other challenges and things that may have been surprises as you finally, you purchased the building, we all celebrated, everything was wonderful. And then one day, I'm sure things started to unveil itself so that you could look at what kind of surprises or things that you weren't expecting started to happen.
Well, I think it's the magnitude of what goes behind putting a project like this and moving it forward. Because obviously we had an idea that it was going to be some challenges, and we knew we was going to have to put a team together, and we knew there was going to be some red tape, and we knew we only have to get some variances, and we're going to have to get some permits and some zoning. Right. We knew that piece of it, but what we didn't know or didn't realize that just because we're excited about our project, everyone's not going to be excited as much as we are, and it's just paperwork to them. Could be our vision. This could be our mission. It's just paperwork to some people. So our paperwork could be sitting on the pile of other paperwork, and we're thinking that, we should be right at the top, and everybody else is like, well, we'll get to you when we get to you. So, and that's just a humbling thing for us, because it teaches us not just to, move full steam ahead, but we have to pace ourselves. And believe it or not, even in our challenges and even in the frustration sometimes, we're able to think and figure things out during that pause. So the frustration is we didn't expect the pause. The blessing is we were able to rethink some things during the pause. And now when we come out on the other side, we're kind of glad that it did slow up just a little bit, because it gave us some time to make sure that we were doing what we really wanted to do. We made sure that we had enough eyes and ears on certain things. So we made sure we had some added, opinions and thoughts about some of the things that we wanted to do. And it really became beneficial. So we're almost getting used to, the roadblocks or the stumbling blocks sometimes, because now we try to take advantage of that time and making sure that we're moving in the right direction, but also making the right choices during that time period.
And I will share, even though we may not necessarily want to publicize it, but there have been a few occasions where we have to make a couple of calls to some people to kind of help us move this forward. Sure. So, obviously we do have, certain connections and certain relationships with people in high places, in the city. So there have been occasions where, we might have to make a call or send a text and say, can you help us do this or do that? Right. And they've been very gracious and have been able to help us, expedite certain processes.
Well, Evelyn, you're actually pointing out a very, very important point that we discussed on how to build financial wealth and so forth. And that is that financial wealth is not just about dollars, it's about relationships. In order to build wealth, you are going to need to have relationships that you can call upon to help you at the right time. So the fact that you had to make those calls is important, but what's even more important is that you had the relationships to make the calls too. You built that over years, as far as your involvement within the community. And this is the time we call that relationship capital. When you talk about that capital stack, there's lots of things in there. And one of those that most people don't think about is a relationship capital sometimes trumps, I hate that word, sometimes trumps exactly what you're trying to do on a revenue basis going forward. So I'm glad to hear that.
And we factored all of that in when we went into this project, because we knew we were going to have to pull on some of those relationships. We knew that there was going to be value in how we've maintained our life, our reputation, and everything in between along the way. So those relationships really was crucial in some cases, to the bigger picture, because again, in some cases, it doesn't really matter how much money you have. Those relationships are just as valuable as dollars and cents.
To talk with Evelyn and Chino Ingram of the Castle here in a special America's Money Maven with Vicki Brackens, George Kilpatrick. Vicki, you've got a lot to get to. What else you got for us?
Okay, fine. Okay, so So you, George, you're so funny.
Nah, no, I have to reintroduce because the video people know who they are, but the radio people don't know.
People don't know who they are. Okay. Okay, but George, I'm gonna move forward here. You have been acting in a capacity as a developer, a real estate developer, and an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Let's spend some time
Both.
talking about
All
those
at the same
two
time.
relationships and how they may be different yet sometimes the same. Tell us about those two relationships in relation to the project and the castle, being a developer and an entrepreneur.
Well, I'll say this. When we started out with this whole project, I wasn't really thinking of us as either. We were
Wow.
people who had a project, a vision to do something. So I was not referring to us or myself as an entrepreneur or a developer. It actually wasn't until I would say maybe even a year or so into the project that someone referred to me as an entrepreneur. And I was like, well, I guess we are. I guess that is kind of what we're doing. So I kind of started operating under the auspice of being an entrepreneur and obviously starting, two businesses actually. And then one foundation. I kind of, started doing that piece of it. And then it was actually after that when someone referred to us as developers. And I was like, well, we're that too, because being able to renovate the property, you're developing a property. And that's really what a developer is. So we are operating in both, and both obviously have demands associated with being in, those spaces. But I will say that once the mentality of that kind of started to shift, my behavior shifted accordingly.
So you were saying that you had to adjust accordingly. How did you have to adjust?
I think the mindset associated with being a developer, being an entrepreneur, actually helped us move along with the project, because I think we began to realize that having a vision, having a great idea, all that's fine, but you got to put some processes and you have to put some other things around those two areas. And that actually, I think, is what helped us to recognize that, okay, this is a developer. This is our first development project. It's a $15 million development project. That's huge for a first project. So we had to put things in place. We had to make sure we had an attorney. We had to make sure we had an accountant, all those processes, marketing, advertising, all the different areas of operating a business. We had to make sure that those things were in place. And I think, recognizing that, and the challenge of knowing those roles are needed, but not always having all the funds to do that, because there are other aspects of the building too. We, had to call on some favors. We had some firms who said, we'll do this part of the project for you pro bono. We had some firms who said, we know you have to do environmental testing. We'll do that for you as an in-kind donation. So we just kind of started to had to be resourceful in operating a business, as any entrepreneur is. So I think, that perspective helped us to recognize that we have to bring in everybody else. Yes, it's our vision. Yes, we named the building. Yes, we're going to be operating it, but we know that we need other resources in place so that it's operating efficiently as a business, even during this process before we open. And I think that was kind of part of it. You recognize you're an entrepreneur once the business is operating, but this is all part of that. And it won't get to being open or operating efficiently if you don't do things at this stage that are necessary and critical.
I so appreciate the fact that you're going through that, Evelyn, Gino, of explaining that this is a process, that this is something that doesn't just blossom from vision only. There's execution necessary, that to execute this process, you also need a team, and that the team is critical to be in place from the beginning, not at the middle, not at the end, but from the beginning. Who did you put on, or who's on the team as far as function, even if you don't want to name names, but the functions that are in play right now as far as the team is concerned?
So, we actually have a grant writer who
Okay.
investigates grants as well as writes them for us. That's a huge process. And not only does this person write grants and research grants, but she also helps with the follow-up. There are reports that have to be submitted. Once you get the approval for the grant, there's certain interim reports that you have to give. And even though recognizing that some of the funds have not been dispersed, but they still have to get either progress reports to see how things are going. So we do have someone on staff for that. We actually have someone who helps us with our social media, wanting to make sure that we keep, the public aware of what's going on. We actually have hired someone on an ad hoc basis to help us with public relations activities too, when we've had certain events to help us facilitate that. So we have a lawyer, of course, we had to have that almost from day one. We have someone who also specializes in historic tax credits. So they actually are an attorney, but they also help us because this is a historic building. It's on the New York State Registry of Historic Places. So there are certain procedures in place that have to go because of that, process. We also have an accountant who, again, helps us throughout on a, ad hoc basis to make sure that our books are in place, recognizing that we do have, the way we have it set up is 3 separate entities. It's an LLC for the event space,
Go ahead.
an LLC for the lounge, and
Okay.
a 501c3 for the foundation. So
All right.
that means 3
All right.
separate entities, 3 separate sets of books, 3 operating procedures, obviously. So those are, I believe, those are all the, other than us. I mean, we're unpaid. we do everything. I mean, I think human resources and marketing. We do business relationships, all of that. But I guess we're on staff too. Man.
Right.
We just don't. We're not able to get paid right now.
And we have a handful of business friends that we respect, who do or have done similar things. But even just in the operations of how to run a business, because again, obviously there's plenty of ideas out there, that people may want to start and may want to, create a certain profession or job or, business opportunity. But the mindset that goes behind that, it really starts more so on the front end, because
Right.
you may want to open up a restaurant and you may know how to fry chicken, which is great, but do you know how to get the right materials and get the right flour and buy enough and make sure you don't run out of the grease and the inventory and the budget and how much you're going to sell your chicken for and how much you're going to make per bite? Are you going to have enough for salt and pepper? Are you going to have enough for your net? So that's the part where in your mind, you just know how to make good chicken. But there's
Right.
so many other pieces that you have to start thinking about on the front end so you can be profitable on the back end. So that's when we talk about our friends, we're talking about profit margins, all those kind of things. We want to get that information and those formulas down now so we don't have to try to figure those things out once the doors are open. So we have all the big people in place, but those conversations about business and how operations and profit margins and how to get paid and those conversations never stop.
I'm
so
interested.
We've had,
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to just say that we've had consultants work with us in different aspects of the building. So, for example, the lounge, there are a lot of operations associated with lounges. So Chino has been, having conversations with lounge owners and how do you operate all those things. For example, we have the event planning side because the event space. So I've been working with some very established event planners to help me understand their processes and what they do to, get their projects managed in a certain way. So again, those are the kind of ad hoc people, I guess I'll say, that we just continually interact with and as more we talk to people, the more they're referring us to other people. And there are even right now, we've learned of a few venues in other states that are similar to what we're doing. So we're now going to take some road trips to visit those, facilities to kind of see what they're doing, what they do, how they did it, learn from them. A lot of them sometimes, we did visit some other ones that they shared their challenges and they shared that, well, I wish I would have done this. So obviously we're in a position to be able to do that. So I think the more we talk to people and understand and learn, the more beneficial it will be for us during this process.
I'm interested in how much the vision of what you originally thought it was going to be has changed once you understood all of the complexities and all of the things that you wanted to do. Like, okay, we want to do an event space, the castle, this is what it is. And then all of a sudden, we need to So, because you started with one thing and now you have three separate entities. So, I'm interested in how that evolved to where you are now.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the ongoing homework that we continue to kind of look into.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, we said we want to have an event space, and we'll have some wedding receptions, at our, at the castle. And then come to find out, we're thinking, yeah, we'll do 10 or 15 weddings a year. And then I looked into it because I'm kind of in the wedding business in another way. I looked into how many weddings Onondaga County actually has. It's 3,500 weddings in Onondaga County. And in our mind, we were only going to do 10 or 15, where technically we could be doing
A wedding every
10
week.
every week.
Right.
We start on, 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, so now the expansion of what we thought we were going to do just got bigger. And then we looked at the average cost that people are willing to spend per wedding. You're looking at over $30,000. So now it's like ding, 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 ding. If we focus more on weddings as opposed to just events, that economically can work a lot better for us. So as we're learning on a daily basis, kind of what's going on in the surrounding area, and then we say, well, how many event venues like ours is even close to ours? We know there's a few on every side of town, but that wedding, that castle, that princess, that royal field, you won't see that or find that anywhere near where we are. So we're looking at that as an opportunity. Then we go to different cities and states, and we see different venues and lounges and things like that. We kind of see what they're doing too, so there's a lot of opportunity. That the initial thought was just kind of like, we just want to have a nice place to go. Now we want to have a really nice place to go. We're just going to do a handful of weddings. Now we budgeted for a lot more weddings. So in some cases it's grown. In some cases it's just changed a little bit, because a lot of times we want to pace ourselves too. So there's some things that we may want to do the first 2 years, and it may shift a little bit in the next 3 or 4 years. So we've also kind of factored those things in too. So maybe there's some things that we'll wait on, and there's some things that we may want to just start and go full steam ahead.
And I would say that's the joy of having your own business, because we can be flexible that way. I mean, I think we have shared that we don't want to just be just a wedding venue. Obviously, weddings will be something that we had, but because of the community scope that we want to project, we're not going to always, be closed on a Saturday because we have a wedding. So I think we're going to just balance the economic piece with that, as well as being able to provide a variety of kinds of events that can be at the castle. But I guess I'll say this, and babe, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I would say our vision has never changed.
Right.
I mean, our vision has always been, we want to have a top-notch, upscale, sophisticated building that when people walk in, they are like, I don't believe this. This is huge. This is awesome. This is beautiful. This is breathtaking. I feel royal. That vision has not changed. Right. I think what has happened is that as we're doing research and learning more, we're expanding our offerings and expanding some of the things that we're looking to do. But the vision of the building and the presence that we want to have, on the South Side of Syracuse, that being almost like a light in that neighborhood to shine, that others will want to come and shine as well. That vision has not changed, and that will not change. That will remain unchanged, because that's why we're doing this, so that neighborhood, those people there can feel that whether they felt overlooked in the past, they will no longer feel that way. If they felt as if they did not matter, they will no longer feel that way, because the castle is going to be a beacon of hope that our people can come and feel as if this is for me, this is something for me.
And even if you think back to like the Apollo and kind of how that started, and the history behind that, we're looking to be in the history books, and people want to go back and look and say, I remember when the castle first opened up, and look at it now. It's amazing. And then it's really a staple in the city, and something that not only are we going to be proud of, but we want people to be proud of the fact that we did it where we did it, which smack dab right in the middle of Syracuse. But also, we really want to be the kickoff business for other people to come and put their business around ours. So we talk about Black Wall Street and we talk about other opportunities, but at sometimes, somebody has to kick the door in, in so many words, where if we are the business that really started you or motivated you to open up your business, then come on down the Salina Street, and there's plenty of opportunity. And we want to look up 10 years from now, and we want Salina Street to look completely different. And we want that big old light to be shining right on top of the castle as the place that kicked it all off.
My goodness. Okay. There are so many. I'm going to answer you one more question, but the more you spoke, the more excited I got. I started thinking about the Moulin Rouge and Emerald City.
Absolutely.
And all the things that used to happen there in Harlem when Harlem was in the Renaissance period. Mm-hmm. And I see all of that wrapped up into what's happening with the castle. I cannot wait. And the reason I'm saying I cannot wait is there's two things that you have done that I want to make sure we emphasize before we close. First of all, I've noticed that you have been not waiting to bring that feeling of the castle and the event space and the excitement and the ambiance of what you're doing to the Syracuse area. You're not waiting. You've had 2 or 3 signature events already, and we're going to talk about one of them in depth very shortly. But what I want to hear about is, first of all, what gave you the idea, the impetus to say, we will not wait. We're going to start bringing that atmosphere to Syracuse right now. And then finally, when you close that, I want to hear about what's next, which I'm sure George is going to walk you through what's next very, very shortly. Okay.
Impatience is what got us to go ahead and start doing the events now. I'll be honest with you. Because, Vicki, George, we have pages of ideas of things we're going to do once the castle opens. And we actually just one day was like, and we will, we've been kind of waiting for the castle to open. And actually, Chena, I'll give you credit for this, because I think it was you who said, well, let's start doing some stuff now. Let's give people a flavor of what it will be like when the castle opens. So that's actually, I think, what triggered us to say, you know what, why wait? Let's go ahead and start doing it now. Obviously, it will be different when it's at the castle, but at least people now will get a feel of the sense and style of events that we're looking to have when we open. And I must say that from the response that we got to the last fundraiser that we had, the Royal Met Gala, which was fashioned after the Met Gala, people literally were enamored at the event and the style of the event, and even the venue where we had the event. They themselves, that staff, said, we have never ever seen this venue look the way it looked tonight. We have never felt that. The feel that you gave with this, the attendees and everyone dressed in style, they literally were flabbergasted at just how we were able to execute that. So that for us is important. And actually we're using, from a business perspective, Vicki, and I know you'll appreciate this, our intention is to have summaries of these events. So when we go to the bank will see the kinds of events that we have, the response that we've gotten to these events, and being able to fulfill a need. So there is a method to what we're doing.
Method to the madness.
That proof of concept is right there on paper. We don't have to think about it. Okay, here's the evidence. Here are the numbers. Here's the marketplace. Yes. I love it. Absolutely love it.
And there's one more piece to this before we get to the actual next event.
Okay.
Being a married couple in business.
Oh, I did. Thank you, George. I wanted to ask that question.
Right. So talk about that dynamic, right? Because you got married and then y'all went right into business. So talk about that.
Yeah, we did. You're right. You're right. We didn't know this when we first got started. But so I'm sure Chena will have something to say. But I'll say that, from a female perspective, being able to work with my husband, and we both have our lanes of expertise. We both value each other's opinions, and really respect that. And, I know sometimes we talk about the castle a lot. It's obviously, a hot topic, I guess we'll say, in our conversation. But I love the fact of us being able to be aligned in our vision. And, we work hard. Like, for example, event planning is going to fall within my scope. So a lot of the event stuff, comes under me. But once construction starts, it's going to be Chena with the hard hat on, but again, because we're able to work well together. And honestly, and I think this is important to me. I love my husband. I love him. I believe that God placed him in my life for a reason at the time he did. But I also like him. I like him as a person.
Uh-oh.
I like to be around him. I like us to be together. I mean, we're one of those couples that, we watch TV on the couch together, we go up to bed together. We're just that couple. But I love that because it keeps us bonded as a team, working together. And I never feel as if I can't be who I am with him. And I hope he feels the same way with me. And I think because of that, that enables us to be able to work together. We're together almost 24/7, and we're able to do that. And I think that really helps join our businesses and join us together as a couple.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we want to be a takeaway from the castle and our relationship and our marriage, is to hopefully inspire other couples, to look at their own relationship and ask themselves, can we work together? Can we partner on something? What can we do together as a couple so we can kind of grow our relationship, grow our business, grow our family, grow our legacy, and everything in between? Because that, to me, is more important than any event that we do. That's more important than any wedding that we might have at the castle, because we want to be a light that shines for relationships, as if to say, we came together because we love each other and because we've learned how to work with each other together, and I think if that's the biggest takeaway, we'll take that, because to me, we don't want that to get missed over all the glitz and glamour and all the, the events that we might do, any gala that may show up. We want to show that if you work hard and if you find the right partner and if your love is legit, then there's nothing that you can't do together, because that's how we look at our relationship and that's how we look at our future. There's nothing that these two Ingrams can't do, because we are built on love and we're built on respect, and we are a force to be reckoned with.
Let's go.
Oh. So we've got the castle.
That was a good kiss for the camera, but you can do it again.
It was.
Listen.
Three corporations, okay, as far as the entities are concerned, 30,000 square feet of amazing event and community space, and $15 million as far as the initial, because I know what happens with cost overruns, somewhere between 15 and $17 million, but $15 million as far as your capital investment into the South Side of Syracuse. When are you going to put that hard hat on? When are you going to put that hard hat on, Gina?
Well, that's a good right. So right now, the designs are currently being drawn up by an architectural firm, which we're excited about. Even seeing the drawings as they're kind of coming to fruition is exciting. And if everything goes according to plan, we will hopefully start construction by the end of the year. That's kind of been our goal. So we have to finish the architectural designs. Then they'll draw what is called the construction documents. We're actually going to use those construction documents to send the project out for bid. After that process is completed, which actually simultaneously will be working with banks from a financing perspective, and then we'll be able to close officially on the property with the land bank and hopefully starting construction by the end of the year. And we're told that the full construction process will take about a year to complete. So that gives us, that's kind of the estimated time frame, obviously, give or take. But we're working hard. I mean, obviously, we want it to start as soon as possible, but we also want to start when everything is in place, because we want to be successful through the process.
Let's throw this out there.
That's our projected timeline.
The Royal Met Gala 2026 will be at the castle.
Yes.
How about that? Let's do that.
That's the plan, George.
Let's go.
George, you just messed me up. I was thinking the Black History Month Jazz and Arts Cabaret.
Well, wait.
Well, okay. In 2026.
Listen, first,
we know February.
The first the Met Gala.
Yes, or maybe who knows, if maybe 2025, if if we're lucky.
Listen,
but yes.
Well, I say 2026.
Even that, we want our venue to be the venue of choice, even for the event that you have every month, which is very successful, and
Right.
other events that
What-
occur throughout the city. We want the castle to be the venue of choice.
And I meant 2026, that New Year's Eve.
Right, yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I meant. Okay,
exactly.
all right. Just want to make
Okay,
that clear.
New Year's Eve,
Yep.
okay.
Right, and
All right.
then
starting
in
in-
2026, the
Yeah.
cabaret will be one of the other things that happens right there.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
now-
okay, talking about events that are coming up, George,
Let's-
I want to make sure
July
That-
7th,
there we go. Talk about July 7th, okay?
the Royal En Blanc, right?
Royal
Talk to
En
me
Blanc.
about that
Royal
event.
and white is what it means. Yes.
Yes. Go ahead. So what's going on? How do people do it? And we got a special offer for Inspiration for the Nation listeners. So go ahead.
So it's called Royal En Blanc, which is actually fashioned after a national event called Dinner En Blanc. And basically, it's an all-white party where guests wear all white head to toe. Guests, you come, you bring your table settings, you bring your food, where you'll experience awesome entertainment among like-minded people. It's outdoors, and the venue actually is revealed on the day of the event. So recognize that this event actually happens in major cities across the country. And in Syracuse, I think it'll be a lot easier than some of the ones we've attended, because once we reveal a location, you put your things in your car, you drive, and you're there. Whereas in major cities, sometimes you have to take public transportation, or we've had to take ferries. It's a whole ordeal. But literally, it's like a sophisticated picnic, basically, where people come. So we're looking for people to have white linen as tables. If you want to bring your china to eat on, and provide, bring your favorite foods and all those things. So we actually are going to kind of dine together. We'll have a start time where people will be able to set up and be able to dine together. We're planning to have a contest for the best table setting. So people can come and be creative. But again, everything has to be all white. So no pops of color, nothing, but everything has to be white.
No gold trim.
No gold trim.
No gold trim on my
rhinestones.
dishes?
See,
It has to
that's
be
why I
all
had to
white.
say that, right?
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
everything is all white. And again, that's why Royal En Blanc means royal in white. So everything will be in white. We do have a national jazz saxophonist, R&B jazz saxophonist performing with us, Jakeem Joyner. If you've heard him, you may have heard him at one of Vicki's cabarets. He's awesome.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to
Absolutely.
him. We have a local jazz duo, the Houston Wind duo, who will
Oh,
be
awesome.
well.
Awesome.
And we're
Yeah.
actually going to end the evening with DJ Seth Marcel, just to kind of let people get their groove on even more. But again, we're excited. But so everybody, we do have a special, as George shared, for Inspiration for the Nation listeners. Right now, we did have a birthday, wedding, anniversary special that was effective June 3rd until June 15th. That for $50 a ticket. But because we love George so much, and Vicki, we're going to extend that sale for Inspiration for the Nation listeners until Juneteenth, which is June 19th. So they will be $50 until that time. After that, tickets will be $75 and will be on sale until June 26th. So we're looking for a great crowd. Again, we think this is an awesome. I will share that if people were kind of not sure what the Royal Met Gala was like for New Year's Eve, but when they came, they had a time of their lives. If you have that same hesitation for Royal En Blanc, we are planning an awesome outdoor event. So please come, please purchase your ticket. People have said, throughout this process, what can I do to support the castle? How can I support? What do you need, Evelyn? What do you need, Chino?
Right.
What we need for you is to buy a ticket.
Yeah.
That's
Buy a
what we need
ticket.
for you to do.
Oh,
Purchase a ticket. And that
Where
really
do I
will
get
show
these
your-
tickets, Evelyn?
I'm sorry?
Where do I get a ticket?
So you get your tickets actually, you can on our social media outlets at the Castle 603, there's a link available, but also if you visit www.eventcreate.com/E/Royal En Blanc. That takes you to the event website and you'll be able to purchase your ticket there.
Question about rain.
Well, we've made provisions for rain. We recognize Syracuse, so we have made provisions for
Wait.
that. So
If you
don't
live
worry.
here,
The Ingrams have taken care of everything. So just come and we will make sure that you have a great time.
perfect. All right.
Perfect.
All right, Vicki.
Again, okay, thank you very much for taking the time to dig deeply into the process and to the challenges and milestones to give us a real understanding of what it is to be a developer. and an entrepreneur, and the magnitude of the project called the Castle, which hopefully, well, not hopefully, 2026, we're planning to blow it out there at the Castle, because we know that that beacon of light that you have envisioned will shine brightly for many years to come. I'm Vicki Brackens. Okay, I'm encouraging all of you, if you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to me at area code 315-930-4499. Go and buy your tickets. Make sure that you are there for this event on July 7th. You will not know the venue until you buy your ticket. So you cannot try and go around town and guess. Nobody's going to tell you.
The day of, right?
And
Or
it
the
won't
day
be
before,
until
maybe.
the day of.
Right.
And
Royal
so,
En Blanc.
Royal En Blanc. Thank you very much, George. I've been practicing that. Royal En Blanc. Okay. And finally, what I want to say is that if you make sure that you subscribe and share this podcast and this video with all of your friends, and our plate is now very much full.
Thank you to Evelyn and Chino Ingram. And Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and the registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. She is America's money maven.